You know Gray Bar for electrical parts, but there's one more thing you may not be thinking of us for that can help maximize your next project's total value. Our pre-project planning services are designed to help you win the bid, save on labor costs, and keep your installers productive across your entire build. The sooner you call us, the better. Because when we're there from the beginning, we can anticipate your needs and help you solve problems before they become problems. Yep, Gray Bar does that.
The final regular season edition of Minor League Baseball's The Show Before the Show podcast arrives to you. Welcome in, everybody. I am Tyler Mon, Sam Dykstra in New York City. I'm not on the road. I'm not next to you. It's so much less exciting.
I know, you're coming from your own home.
Rip off.
Describe the experience of where you are now, Tyler.
You know, compared to last week, a lot lonelier around here in the old house. I moved into this place like 2 weeks ago, and then I've basically been out of town the entire time since. So I got back and I was like, I haven't done any work in here. I gotta actually make this a home now. That's lame. But yeah, so much less exciting than Conference Room 5N that we spent an hour and a half wandering around trying to find last week.
Right. Well, I'm sure where you are now is a little more spacious.
That's true.
That is true. We were in.
So welcome in. It is episode. I got the episode number wrong last week, so I had to go back in and re-edit me talking about what episode it was, which was a super fun moment. We're at episode number 24 now, which I thought we were last week, but now episode number 24. So now you know.
Yes. I can confirm. Yeah.
And we are all wrapped up with virtually every regular season of minor league baseball. Pioneer League ends today. This is a Tuesday on which we are recording, September 8th. You're not going to hear this until Thursday. By then, we'll already have had some postseason results in, all that kind of fun. So keep tabs on the minor league baseball playoffs at MILB.com. We've got an entire playoff coverage page, a landing page there for every series across every league. We've already gotten some teams that have wrapped up championships. Sam wrote about the GCL Red Sox, who put away a championship earlier on this week. Tonight, Tuesday night, the Appalachian League will be decided. That's between the Greenville Astros, and that's Greenville with third E, by the way, 3 of 4, Grene, not Greenville in South Carolina. Home of the Greenville Drive is just Gren. Anyway, they're going against the Princeton Rays. So the playoffs are all over the place, and we will be with you throughout the entirety of the minor league postseason. You can, by the way, stop on over by iTunes, give us a rating, a review, and a subscription there. We are the Minor League Baseball podcast on iTunes. Give us 5 stars and then write whatever the heck you want in the comments, whatever. It's fine. Tell us, that
we prefer nice things.
Yeah, I mean, we would like
lead
that.
with nice things.
As we explained last week,
how our day is. Anything, just generally nice things in comments. Let's bring up the comments, just the geniality and the niceness of comments in general.
They're never not that way on the internet.
Of course not, no.
And as we explained last week, it's way easier for you guys to do it than for us to try to walk our moms through how to do that on the internet. So go give us a rating and a review and a subscription on iTunes. You can also find us at MILB.com. And so welcome in. It is episode number 24, and we are a full week now into expanded rosters and the like at the major league level. And one guy who was already turning some heads, I know Vin Scully was all over him, lauding praise on him last night in a broadcast at the major league level through 5 games. Corey Seager, the top prospect in the Los Angeles Dodgers organization, already showing flashes of what is to come throughout his major league career, as Dodgers fans will hope. He's the number 2 prospect in all of baseball. Hits in all 4 of his starts so far. He's made 2 starts at third base and 2 at shortstop. He also had 1 pinch hit appearance, but so far he is 6 for his first 18. He's got 3 doubles over that span, an OPS of 900. Very limited sample size, of course, through 18 at-bats, but Corey Seager, like he did at AA, like he did at AAA, starting very, very hot. He is our strike one topic of conversation.
Yeah, and I don't think you can give any better praise than the fact that Vin Scully said some nice things about you. Once that happens, I think you're pretty much golden. So we'll try to meet Vin's standards here. But a couple times we talked on the podcast about Corey Seager and just on the site in general, and what his kind of potential is, how much of a good hitting infielder he could be. I know we talked about maybe him being a call-up, and the Dodgers decided to make that jump. Especially with Justin Turner having some health issues here in September as they're trying to make their march to the postseason. And, he's like you said, it's been a small sample so far, but everybody's getting excited based on what they're seeing. He's just kind of been a doubles machine. He's got 3 doubles so far, showing off that nice gap-to-gap power. Taking his pitches, hitting them the right way, not trying to blast the ball out of the stadium, not trying to stick out in that way. Although we know he does have some nice pop, especially for an infielder. Corey Seager, his value is in his bat. We've talked before. He's a 307 career minor league hitter. Has a career 891 OPS there. This is a guy who hit, what was it, 18 homers, or no, that's this year. 20 homers last year, 16 homers the year before. He's got, for a guy who can play a legitimate shortstop, his size, he's got some nice pop there. Whether his future is at third base or at short, that's for the Dodgers to decide. They have Jimmy Rollins at short right now. They've kind of had a revolving door at third this year. And with his size, he's a 6'4" guy. He might be a better fit at third base just given his size. Once he does fill out, he's still only 21 years old. But what you're seeing right now in the majors with him is what we think his potential is going to be. Again, it's a small sample, but we think he can be an exciting player. He can kind of anchor that offensive lineup as good as it is right now for the Dodgers already. He can anchor that for the next, half dozen years, even beyond that, if he gets an extension and, they really decide they want to lock him down for the very, very long term. So it's been exciting to see him carry that production from AAA straight to the majors and, get to show everybody else, what we've already seen in the minors with him.
The one thing that I think really speaks volumes about Corey Seager and what the Los Angeles Dodgers believe they have in him is this note, which came from a special article on MLB.com by Jay Paris. And Paris, after Seager's debut, said, quote, "The top Dodgers prospect showed why the front office wouldn't relinquish him in various trade scenarios, including ones that could have landed pitchers Cole Hamels or David Price." That shows you everything you need to know about what the Dodgers think of Corey Seager. They could have made the push to add another big arm to Greinke and Kershaw and really make a run at what has so far eluded them throughout these last handful of very, very good seasons, especially in the regular season, but what's eluded them in the postseason. Seager is the guy, and the Dodgers know that they have a very valuable guy in the most valuable position on the field, and that's who they want to build around. Jimmy Rollins has filled in admirably at that spot, but obviously he's a short timer given his age. So I think right now the Dodgers are giving – we've talked so many times this year about how the Dodgers already have all this talent, this high-priced major league talent, but they have a lot of stuff on the way in minor league reinforcements. And it's not just Seager, but obviously, guys like Julio Urias and the pitching staff, there are a lot of talented players who have raised their profiles this year at the minor league level, but Seager has always been first and foremost among that crowd. I think he stands out as a guy that organizations in positions like the Dodgers don't necessarily always have, which is that top prospect, despite the $200, $300 million payrolls that we're seeing and are going to see from these top teams, to be able to still draft and develop well and bring guys like this along with a long time in team control is huge for teams like the Dodgers, because you can add a piece like that without having to overextend yourselves money-wise. So this is a very big facet of the Dodgers that's going to come along and continue to make that team competitive and the class of that division along with the San Francisco Giants. It's not just a bloated payroll that's going to drag that franchise down, as we've seen with other teams who have gone wild spending in the past. So Corey Seager is here, and it looks like is going to be here to stay for a very long time. And we've seen hot starts from him already this season. He played 20 games at AA Tulsa to start the year, 375 average at 1082 OPS, 5 homers and 15 runs driven in, along with 17 scored in 20 games. In his first month at the AAA level, that was May, he played 27 games. He batted 300, OPS 796, and now we're here through his first 5 games at the Major League level on a 333 average and a 900 OPS. As Sam said, already generating a lot of doubles, hitting with some pop. So Corey Seager, very exciting to watch, as he has been at every level. Another guy who's finally been called up and made his major league debut, made it last night, was Carl Edwards Jr. You may know him as CJ Edwards. Edwards has been kind of an interesting guy to watch this year in the way that he's really – we've talked a lot about guys who have kind of pushed their envelopes faster than maybe a lot of people expected them to do so. CJ Edwards, very, very good at Double-A to start the year. He kind of was on a similar plan to Seager, went up fairly quickly at the end of April, a 2.66 ERA and 13 appearances at the Double-A level. He was almost better at the Triple-A level, 2.84 through 23 relief appearances. Initially, there were some reports that he had been called up actually on his 24th birthday, which was September 3rd. He wasn't called up right then, but he did make his debut last night. And the Cubs, their third-place team in the National League Central, they'd be leading the other two divisions of the National League. They add a very big arm to come out of the bullpen and give themselves some quality innings.
Yeah, Edwards was one of my favorite stories in the minors that I've written since I've been here. You know, he's a guy. He came from a place of all the places called Prosperity, South Carolina. It's a very small town down there, by I think 1,000 people. He used to pitch with his uncle, his older members of his family. He was this small, scrawny guy, and he would come in and he was just blazing strikes from his early teenage years, just kind of taking everybody aback. And when I talked to him once, he said that kind of prepared me to pitch against these older guys. I knew I had the stuff to perform at a bigger level. But being from small town South Carolina, wasn't getting that many looks. The Rangers ended up taking him in the 48th round in 2011. That round doesn't even exist anymore. It was really just a flyer. We're going to take this guy, and we'll try to talk him into taking a deal. But if we lose him, it's not that big a waste of a pick. Nobody else really knows about him yet. They managed to talk him into signing a $50,000 signing bonus, and what he showed early on was just a really, really good fastball, developing curveball. He had a 1.48 ERA in his first year in the Rangers system in 2012. Kind of popped up in a little bit of he was pitching at the really low levels, but at least in major years per cup, he was striking out 85 guys in 67 innings. And then 2013, he really broke onto the scene, had a 1.86 ERA at two different levels, 155 strikeouts in 116 1/3 innings. Got traded to the Cubs as part of a Matt Garza deal that year, went from the Rangers to the Cubs because the Cubs had seen what he had shown, in the Ranger system, which was a plus fastball, some really good off-speed stuff. The biggest worry for him has always been his frame. He's only 6'3", 170 pounds. That's what he's listed at. If you watched his game yesterday, you can see why he's nicknamed the String Bean Slinger. I mean, his number is 6, and that's really only because that's all that can fit on his back. If you were to go double digits, it might be a little too big for him.
Has to go with 11.
Right.
Make it really compact.
It's kind of like a Clay Buchholz issue. He has 11 too, and that's basically all you can fit on there. But for Edwards, that did kind of pop up last year. In 2014, he only threw 53 2/3 innings because he had some shoulder issues, some injury problems. So this year the Cubs decided, if we really are this worried about his durability, why don't we just move his really good stuff to the bullpen, see how he handles it. They were thinking that, maybe we'll make him a starter halfway through. We just want to see how he responds to this. And he did really well, as you were saying before, at Tennessee and Iowa. He has that kind of typical reliever problem, which is his stuff is so good that nobody can touch it. Batters hit 139 against him this year. I mean, that's really, really low. The thing is, they knew that he would have some control issues. He did walk 41 guys in 55 1/3 innings in the minors. So if he can find a way to work on his control, his stuff will certainly play at the big league level. It's certainly closer level stuff. That's why we think so highly of him, even as a reliever. But it's exciting to see him climb from, like I said, a spot where he was, in a town of 1,000 people pitching against older competition to now a spot on a major league roster. And, maybe if he pitches well enough, shows off that excellent stuff, maybe they'll find a spot for him in the postseason roster when the Cubs get there. But we'll see how he does here coming up in the next few weeks.
And a new father also. So congratulations.
Congratulations
to Carl Edwards Jr. Very cool. Strike two, Sam. Let's move along to kind of a broader scope of stories. The minor league baseball all-star, end-of-season all-star mentions, awards are all out. Some very notable guys. And the one thing that stuck out to me, you had a good season in AAA if you were named Matt, because the International League MVP is Matt Haig, and the Pacific Coast League MVP is Matt Duffy, he of the Fresno Grizzlies, and Matt Haig, of course, of the Buffalo Bison. So if your name was Matt, it was a hell of a year for you in AAA.
I think that might more just speak to people of kind of our generation, our age. There are just more Matts out there.
There's a lot of Matts.
I think it's
a new inefficiency. Just be named Matt.
Yeah, but it's funny you bring up the PCL and AAA because I kind of wanted to bring that up too when I was thinking about topics for this. One kind of interesting thing, I know one thing people should know is that a lot of these leagues come out with their all-star teams before the season's over. You know, things can change here and there. There might be somebody who qualifies for a ERA title or batting average title at the last second. I know that happened kind of with Clayton Blackburn. It happened with a pitcher from Arkansas who snagged the Texas League ERA title in his last start. But one of the biggest glaring omissions kind of on that PCL team for me was Jose Martinez, who hit 384 this year for Omaha in 98 games. I mean, we're not talking a very small sample, and he wasn't even one of the 3 outfielders chosen on the PCL team. That's not to put PCL on blast. You know, everybody has their reason for taking what they take, and, you know, there were certainly some other really good guys taken there in the outfield between Domingo Santana, Alex Dickerson, and Peter O'Brien, each of which had very good years, especially Santana and O'Brien this year. But Jose Martinez, I mean, a 384 average and 341 at-bats. You know, you'd like to see him get a little bit of recognition there for what he's done this year for Omaha. But, you know, the other thing we come back to with these is, you know, they are just kind of arbitrary nice things, and you like to see people rewarded for their good work. So I wouldn't get too blown up about anything, but yeah, it would have been nice to see his name on that PCL list.
One of the things that stuck out to me, the Texas League's end-of-season all-star team, 3/4 of that infield were Midland Rockhounds. Colin Walsh, the second baseman, Ryan Healy, the third baseman, and Chad Pinder, the shortstop. Pinder was named the player of the year in the Texas League. Midland, I had a pretty interesting conversation earlier this week. Midland the Texas League gets a reputation. I mean, it's not quite the California League, but it's obviously a very hitter-friendly circuit. And the Rockhounds don't really have that benefit at home. And I had a conversation with Eric Martins, the hitting coach from Midland, a couple of days ago about some of the just freakish things at the plate that Renato Nunez has been doing as of late. But he said it's almost when we go on the road, we have to remind ourselves how good of a team we can be offensively. So when you're playing half of your games in that ballpark in Midland where the wind's blowing like crazy, it doesn't really carry. It's not kind of the same what you would think of West Texas and dry air and balls jumping. That's not how it is out there. So for those 3 guys to hold down basically the entire infield, Balbino Fumayor was the other infielder from Northwest Arkansas on that team. Very impressive. Midland's put together a really exciting team there. Of course, they added Sean Minaya in that trade at the deadline this year. They got a very, very fun team, and one of the teams that will be contesting the Texas League postseason, which leads us into strike 3. You like that segue? Look at that. So let's dive in. Postseason has arrived across the minor leagues, and there are a lot of good storylines in every circuit, but there are a handful of things that stick out to, I think, those of us who are excited for the intensity that minor league baseball brings on the field for players. It's kind of a thing across minor league front offices. Sometimes the playoffs put you in a bind because kids are back in school, vacationers aren't on vacation anymore. It can be tough for a front office, but for the players and the staffs of teams, the playoffs are a heck of a lot of fun, especially because you kind of think to yourself, well, we got to be here for another week. We might as well go out and win it all. That's always kind of the mindset of teams that make it into the postseason. So, Sam, give me just some of the storylines that stick out to you as we start the playoffs this week.
Yeah, and kind of sticking in the Texas League, I'm just kind of excited to see what Corpus Christi can do there too. You know, get a couple more at bats for AJ Reed, get to see what he's going to be like in kind of that playoff atmosphere. What that's going to just to squeeze a few more at bats out of him, that'll be exciting. And we do have whatever you think of it or not, we do have a AAA national championship, which is going to pit the best team from the International League against the best team from the Pacific Coast League. And that this year is going to be in El Paso. And El Paso is in the PCL playoffs this year. They're going up against Fresno in the semifinals. They'll be trying to march back to their own home, I guess, as it were. You never, when they have the Super Bowl in different places like they do the AAA National Championship, you never really see teams get to play in their home stadium like that. So that'll be exciting for El Paso to make the march to El Paso. And I'm sure the Chihuahuas themselves would love to see that. That'll just help with attendance numbers in that game. But getting to see them march home will be kind of fun to see.
That would be really, really cool. And those fans are so crazy in El Paso. It's the second year of that ballpark. People still talk about that from opposing teams, what it's like playing there. It's an entirely different atmosphere than you see in a whole lot of ballparks. So that city would go insane if the El Paso Chihuahuas were able to make it there for the AAA championship game. The series that I'm really excited to see is in the Advanced Class A California League. The Lancaster Jethawks, the defending league champions, are back in the postseason. They're going to take on the High Desert Mavericks. And the thing that intrigues me most is that those are the top two offenses and the top two hitters ballparks in that league. That's going to be a very, very firework-laden series. The Mavericks, the Texas Rangers affiliate, and the Astros affiliate, the Jethawks, they finished with teams batting averages of 291 for Lancaster and 286 for High Desert. That's 20 points better than any other team in the league. Visalia was third place at 266 as a unit. So those are some formidable offensive attacks to look out for, and that's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of power in that series. And Cal League Baseball it never leaves you bored. We'll put it that way. It's a whole lot of fun.
Especially for box score watchers.
Right, exactly.
They're
Exactly.
Dazed at, how many home runs were hitting that game? That's the series to watch for sure. And what I touched on this before, but I want to kind of bring it up too. You mentioned the Lancaster Jethawks. The Fresno Grizzlies are in the playoffs. Corpus Christi, like I said, Lancaster, and Quad Cities, all of the Houston full season affiliates are in the playoffs, their respective playoffs this year. So, with the Astros making their own march to the postseason, this is certainly an exciting time if you're an Astros prospect fan or if you're just a Astros fan in general and want to see what the lower levels have. I think that's kind of been one of the stories of the season, and now will be one of the stories of the postseason to see how many rings, if any, the Astros affiliates can get here in the next couple weeks.
It's going to be a whole lot of fun. Don't forget the Tri-City Valley Cats also.
Right.
In,
just going
another Astros affiliate. Yeah, you were just listing off the full season teams, but that's how good that organization is. The short season teams are in the mix as well. So it's been, and Greenville's got a chance to play for a championship tonight. By the time you're listening to this, you will know whether or not Greenville won the Appalachian League. But basically, if you're an Astros team, you're going to the playoffs pretty much no matter what.
Right. I don't envy who's ever going to be doing the Astros Org All-Stars. There's sometimes you either like it or you don't like it, but you can either get nobody to pick from or 1,500 people to pick from.
Exactly.
So I do not envy that person who has to
enjoy. It'll be one of the two of us now.
Right. I know. Now that I've said it, it's going to be.
By the way, just since we'll throw out little flyers here, if I was going to pick a AAA championship winner and a team to reign supreme atop the AAA mountain, I am going to go with the Fresno Grizzlies on a dramatic. I'm going to say they go full on Mighty Ducks 2. And in the AAA championship game, struggling at the seventh inning, they come out in the Tacos uniforms.
Oh,
and roll to a AAA championship.
Is Gordon Bombay going to actually be involved here?
Yep. Or? Emilio Estevez will take over as manager just for that game.
What will be their version of the quack chant?
Yeah, what could you do for a taco? Just a bunch of people crushing tacos.
Just guac. Guac. That's it. I think that's I can't possibly top that now. I was just going to bring up, I was going to pick it against Fresno against Indianapolis. I guess I'll go with Indianapolis winning it for the IL.
Okay.
I like Josh Bell, obviously. I think they're going to keep Alan Hansen, even though he's on the 40-man. Let him get some playing time. He can wreak havoc on the base paths, and I don't know exactly how it's going to line up right now, but I would love to see Tyler Glass now in a AAA national championship game. So I'll pick Indianapolis just for the sake of argument.
I do think that's a good pick out of the International League. I mean, there are those teams that are in those semifinal series, Indianapolis and Scranton, Wilkes-Barre, and Norfolk and Columbus. A lot of the top talent from those other squads has already departed and gone up to the major league level in various spots. But Indianapolis still has a very loaded roster, so I think that's a good pick coming out of the International League as we wrap up our playoff discussion here for the 24th edition. I can't believe we're already talking playoffs, which is absurd. But some of the we'll talk a little bit more in depth about that stuff as the show rolls along. And wanted to cover one thing before we get done with Three Strikes. things get a little weird toward the end of the minor league season, especially
little?
for teams. Yeah, exactly. Especially for teams that aren't contending. Basically, you just get to a point where you think like, nah, whatever. We'll just see what we can do on that last day. I know I worked for several teams that only used one bat on the final day of the regular season. They just handed off the same bat for everybody hitting that day, so you didn't have to waste time with equipment and whatever. Just pass the bat and make it as quick of a game as possible. A team that actually is contending will make a trip to the postseason. The Pensacola Blue Wahoos and infielder Ray Chang, I guess you can't even really call him infielder because he was everything man in his regular season finale. Tell us the story of Ray Chang, Sam.
Yeah, so yesterday, being Labor Day, we had a lot of people working dayside, just kind of as we do, following all the box scores, following all the games, and we were having a joke around the office of who's it going to be this year, because every year, towards the end of the season, if not on the last day, there's one person who is going to play all 9 positions. And the 2015 version of that minor leaguer was Ray Chang for the AA Pensacola Blue Wahoos, who he got to play all around the infield, got to play the outfield, which was actually kind of interesting because the Wahoos had Billy Hamilton rehabbing. And, the way major leaguers like to work, they don't like to move, especially if they're the big guy on campus like that. So I was worried that, maybe they were going to have to take Hamilton out of the game to let Chang play center field, but thankfully Billy moved over to right. Billy Chang got to catch the 8th inning. He got to pitch the 9th inning. He talked with our Alex Kraft after the game about it, and he said the biggest thing he was worried about was catching because, it's one thing to catch. I'll read you the quote. With catching, there's so many more things running through my head, and I just couldn't slow the game down. Everything was happening so fast. I'm just glad it was a quick 8th inning. He had a right-hander, Zach Weiss, on the mound. There were 2 strikeouts in the inning, so he worked out pretty well. But, I can't imagine being a guy who's normally a shortstop just having to throw on the mask and the protector and trying to catch 95-mile-an-hour fastballs. That would be my scariest bit. Anybody can get on the mound and pitch, and he did, and he did pretty well. But, that would be the scariest bit for me.
I like how Alex very diplomatically put this. He said, the practice is not uncommon for minor league teams on the final day of the regular season. Mike Hessman did it in 2009. Justin Toole did it in 2012. And Nathan Orff did it last year. And Justin Toole actually wrote a book about it, 9 and 9, which was 9 life lessons from playing every position. And the last couple days of the regular season, especially if a team already knows that it is or is not headed to the playoffs, is fun because managers, I think, realize these guys have been busting their tails for 140-plus days, and they let guys go out and blow off a little bit of steam, and that's really cool. So, Ray Chang, congratulations. It's not an unprecedented thing, but it's a very cool little footnote to have in your career. And, I would not – I have no interest in just lacing it up and throwing on the tools of ignorance and trying to catch 90-mile-an-hour fastball. Because even if you have a reliever who's going out and taking it easy on you – it's still a whole different animal. When you got a hitter up there, it's actually what Ray Chang said. He said, I've caught bullpens with a batter standing in the box. It's just a whole different ballgame. No, I don't know. I feel like I would leave in a body bag if I attempted that.
Right, and as crazy as it sounds, you're also only putting down one finger the entire time. You don't want to try to catch a curveball. That's just not going to end well.
Somebody give me your slurve. Just bury this pitch. I'll see what I can do from the blocking game. No, thanks. Some of the other weirdness that went on the final day of minor league baseball. Was there anything else that stood out, Sam? Because I know I heard some stories. You hear things just from day to day about teams that kind of want to let loose. Lineups look funky. A lot of guys will just open the bullpen and let guys get one last day of work. But mostly I think for teams that know that they're headed home for the offseason, it's just about getting done as quickly as possible. And it's funny because if you go on Twitter today, you follow the MILB players feed, and it's just a rash of guys saying it's so great to be home.
Right. And speaking of Twitter, the thing that gave me a good chuckle yesterday was Ryan Verdugo tweeting that bunting for base hits on the last day of the season, #NoFeel, meaning he got angry at Astros prospect Tony Kemp, and Tony Kemp tweeted back, "Do you think the placement was good enough?" The guy's like, "Placement was great. Don't be scared to swing the bat next time though on game 144." So they're chirping that, "Come on, guy, I just want to go home."
Oh man, it's once you get to this point in the season, Everybody just wants to go home if they're going to go home, I guess. It's the ultimate lesson after 104. Guys are riding around on buses. I know Todd Van Steen's one of our favorites from minoring and Twitter fame this year. He had like a countdown clock on his phone for when the first pitch of the final game of the regular season was going to be thrown. So it's we're there now. We're there. Everybody wraps up. Last games of the regular season are tonight. This is insane to me.
Yeah, no, we'll celebrate the off season when it comes for a day, and then we'll get back into the swing of things again.
Well, we're going to discuss some postseason with a guy who is headed there very soon. Dansby Swanson of the Arizona Diamondbacks organization, top pick in the 2015 draft, headed to the playoffs with the Class A short season Hillsboro Hops. Dansby Swanson joins the show next. The minor league regular season is over across the board, and some postseasons already rolling. A lot of them get started here today and tomorrow. We're recording on Wednesday, but one of the leagues that is already full bore into the playoffs is the Northwest League, and one of the stars in that circuit already is the top pick in the draft from the 2015 MLB first-year player draft, Dansby Swanson of the Arizona Diamondbacks organization and the Hillsboro Hops. Welcome, Dansby. It's good to talk to you.
Yeah, it's good to be here. I'm glad to be able to talk to you guys, and looking forward to it.
Well, let's dive into the postseason talk first. We'll get that out of the way because it's, you guys are already fully into this series, tied at one game apiece already. And, this is kind of a different situation for you, I guess, because you get the College World Series, the postseason experience there. Then you join a Hillsboro team that has dominated the Northwest League over the last couple of seasons. They were already headed to the playoffs when you got there. Then you clinched the second half as well. And now, through a couple of games in the postseason, this has got to be kind of a sprint for you. I mean, with getting in a little bit later to Hillsboro and now already being into the postseason, what's this been like to join this team and already be taking on the task of going after a Northwest League title?
It's been awesome so far. I mean, the guys have treated me just like any other person, which I think has been, like a blessing, just because sometimes, you can get treated a little bit differently, but, they just see me as a guy like them, and I'm just out here trying to play and, reach a dream. So they've been great. They're all passionate about it, and they love playing. And we kind of created a college-like atmosphere, which I've thoroughly enjoyed, just because you hear all the stories about how pro ball is just, all for yourself. Like, there's no team in it, but it's the complete opposite here. Everyone wants to win. That's what matters most to these guys. So being able to, kind of bring what I learned at school and, apply it here, and, we've been able to, be successful so far.
And kind of jumping back to where, your whole pro experience kind of began, going a couple months back to June, there was that really cool video, went kind of viral in baseball circles of you getting the call that you were going first overall to the D-backs and just your teammates mobbing you. What was that scene like when you got, when you found out that you were going first overall, and, what was it like to be part of that experience?
It's pretty much what the video is. It was, you can't really put it into words, just because I saw everything happened to work out so perfectly. You go to Omaha, which in itself is just an amazing accomplishment. And then you get drafted number one, and your family's there, teammates, coaches, all the special people in your life, really, are all there at once, and they're just able to congratulate you. And it was a very, very emotional moment, and something I'll definitely remember forever.
Yeah, and going back a little before that, the previous season you were most outstanding player at the College World Series. You guys obviously won the title in a very cool moment. But when did you think it was possible that you could go first overall, in the 2015 draft? Was there any particular moment during this season, previous seasons, anything like that, where you thought, this is a real possibility for me?
Well, for me, I'd always believed in myself, that I had the ability to do it. It was just a matter of it actually happened or not. It's, I guess, coming down the stretch, when I had, a couple good weeks in a row, in the postseason, I thought that could have, put it over the edge, but I didn't really know for certain, just because, I'm sure you guys know how crazy the draft can be and how different things work out and stuff like that. So, I was just going to try and keep my focus on baseball and, actually playing rather than the draft itself.
Dansby, let me ask you about the Vanderbilt family, and as it has turned into kind of one of those fraternities now in baseball. It's almost the way that Alabama is in football. You see the guys who go on to the NFL, and they're part of that group, or Miami of the 90s and 2000s, where you see Vanderbilt guys now, and Vanderbilt guys kind of breed Vanderbilt guys. I mean, it's like this one big fraternity of successful players in the professional level because of the success you've had at the collegiate level. And I want to read a quote that's on your bio page on the Vanderbilt site from Tom Corbin, the head coach of the Commodores, who said, quote, "Dansby is a rare talent. He affects the game in so many different ways, whether it's physically on the field or in the clubhouse. Plain and simple, he's a winning baseball player. There isn't much he can't do well." For a program to have that much success, and a coaching staff to have that much success, and to hear the way that a head coach talks about you that way as one of the faces of that program, I mean, what does that mean to you to know that you're kind of one of the guys who was on the forefront of a program, an institution that's already put so much talent into the professional game? You're kind of one of the guys who goes on the cover of the media guide now. I mean, there's David Price, and there's, Dansby Swanson's in that conversation now. What does that mean to have that on your resume now, not only as a top pick, but as an ambassador for Vanderbilt?
Well, I mean, it's a huge honor, obviously, just being able to represent the university, and not even just the baseball team, but, the university, the community, Nashville itself. Just being able to be put up like that is honestly an incredible feeling. But it's funny that you ask, like, what's it feel like and everything, because for me, I've never really changed who I am. I've always stayed true to myself. And so all that stuff's cool, you know what I mean? But at the same time, it's hard to recognize it just because I'm just being, myself. I'm not trying to do something that people like or trying to act a certain way that would put me there. I just, I'm just acting myself, and, that was kind of the end result. But, the family that we've created is very, very special. It's more than just the talent too, which I think is the most incredible part about it, because we are literally a family. We always come back and hang out in Nashville together during the off season. We impact the community, not just baseball. You look at just socially, academically, like you name it, we want to be the best at it. So it runs more than just the talent and, in professional baseball. It's the people that aren't necessarily playing baseball anymore, but they're successful in their own right, in the business world, even though they, still come back, are with the Vanderbilt family.
Dansby, the exposure that you get on a national stage playing at a program like Vanderbilt, I mean, you guys 2014 national champions, runners-up this past season, that I would think almost prepared you better for things like the draft and like coming into an organization than maybe it does for the playing side of it. But you're in the postseason now as a professional, and it's obviously a little bit different, I would imagine, playing the Salem Kaiser Volcanoes in the Northwest League playoffs than playing on ESPN and Virginia in the national championship. But, I mean, just take me through kind of the whole process of being involved in the College World Series and what that exposure, what that big time stage did for you as an athlete and as a professional moving into your pro career once you got drafted.
Well, I mean, Omaha obviously is a very unique and special place just because the town thrives off of baseball. It lives for those couple of weeks while the teams are there. The hospitality there is great. And, there's, 25,000 fans that each game, which is awesome. I mean, I think it's great for college baseball. I think it's great to be able to have that exposure, like you said. But the biggest thing that it's taught me is that baseball is the same. It doesn't change whether you're playing, the midweek game in school or whether you're playing, in some middle of nowhere town. Professional baseball, it's the same game, same rules. So when you get to that level and you're playing for a championship, you treat it the same way. And I think that's why we at Vanderbilt were successful, is because nothing got hyped up. It was the same every weekend, whether we were playing Florida, whether we were playing Virginia in the national championship game, whatever it was, we were just going to do what we had always done and what we had trained for.
And kind of jumping forward a little bit over to your pro career, you signed the deal with the D-backs. You're getting some time down in Arizona, getting ready for a season, hopefully, to start in Hillsboro soon. And season kind of takes, a wrong turn for you when you were hit in the face with a pitch. How kind of disappointing was it to have to put your season on hold, your first minor league season on hold at that point? And how long did it kind of take you to get back into the swing of things, after going through that?
Well, so after I got hit, obviously I I wouldn't say I was disappointed. I wouldn't think that's the right word. It's more I was just frustrated because, I was ready to get things going. When you're gearing up for something and then all of a sudden it takes a back seat, it's a little bit different. But, trying to look at the positives, maybe it just gave me a little more time to, rest up and get used to what a professional baseball life is like, and help slow some things down for me. I tried to look at the positives of it and, how it was able to maybe slow things down for me a little bit, and help me find out what a good routine would be, or, just be able to get a better understanding of what my new life would be like, so to speak. So I was able to take advantage of that, and then I'm still learning more and more about professional baseball every day. The way you get pitched, how it's different from college baseball, just the tempo, the pace, and all that type of stuff. So, I'm looking forward to being able to apply it, and get better from it.
When you're saying you're getting used to pro baseball and what's the biggest thing you've taken away from your time from the Hops? And, you're in the playoffs right now, and we don't want to look too far ahead, but you're going to be going into your first full off season, going to be going to spring training this year. What are you going to kind of take from this time in the Northwest League and kind of translate it into this off season to get prepared for a full season next year?
Well, the biggest thing is the effectiveness of fastball. Most guys, they pitch off their fastball for the most part, just because that's what pro baseball is, whereas college it can be based more off of off-speed stuff. So just learning how, because a lot of guys are nowadays, it's like a sinker slider league. You watch a lot of big leaguers throw, and that's what it is. So just getting used to being able to see the ball up, in the strike zone and not chasing pitches down and in that they want you to hit for ground balls. It's probably one of the biggest things. And being able to basically mentally prepare yourself every day to play and to stay solid with, your approach and your swing and knowing how to compete, whether you feel great that day or you don't feel that good. And, luckily I learned a lot of that in college. It's just kind of refining it because you do it every day now. So it can be a little bit different, but, I'm well prepared for it, and I'm, looking forward to the challenges.
All right, Dansby, we got to ask you this. Your Twitter handle is at Lieutenant Dans7, and on your bio page at vucommodores.com, it says actor Tom Hanks would play him in a movie about his life. Now, I did some research, and you were not yet 5 months old, actually, when Forrest Gump came out. Give us the story behind this love for because Tom Hanks, first of all, would be pretty old to play Dansby Swanson in a movie. I'm sure he could pull it off because Tom Hanks is America's favorite. But give us this Tom Hanks, this Forrest Gump story here.
Well, it's funny just because the reason I picked Tom Hanks is just because I think he's a phenomenal actor. And obviously he was in a baseball movie, for the love of the game. So he's kind of the one that popped in my head just because, he's able to play a bunch of different roles. And then the Forrest Gump Twitter handle, actually, I think it's really funny. So I got a Twitter my freshman year at school, and when I got it, this is when I had broken my foot. So I was rolling around campus on a scooter, and Lieutenant Dan and Forrest Gump was in a wheelchair, so I only thought it was fitting.
Oh, that is outstanding.
Oh,
that is like the best possible story. I thought it was just, Dan's. It's like Lieutenant Dan. That is great.
Well, we got kind of 2 questions for you. We want to kind of end this on a lighter note. This is a kind of shout out to
explore your Lieutenant Dan knowledge.
Yeah, we don't
Sam
want.
came up.
Yeah, if you're going to have that Twitter handle, we want to make sure you can back it up a little bit. So we got a couple trivia questions for you on Lieutenant Dan.
Oh Lord.
Yeah. So we'll give you one. If you get this one right, we'll move on to a second one. So we'll start with this one. When Forrest and Bubba first meet Lieutenant Dan, he tells them there's one item of GI gear that can be the difference between a live grunt and a dead grunt. To what is he referring?
Oh, gosh.
I guess we should clarify. You have seen Forrest Gump.
Yeah, you have seen the
right?
movie, yes.
Yeah, I've seen
Okay.
it.
I was going to say being 5 months old when it came out.
Holy cow. I haven't seen this movie in a while.
It is a thing that you also have on baseball fields, if I am recalling this correctly.
A base? I don't know. I have no idea.
All right. It's it's the scene where the guys land on the beach in Vietnam. They first meet Lieutenant
Yeah.
Dan. He comes up to them, cigar in mouth, asks if they're twins, and tells them the most important thing they can have is socks.
Socks.
Socks is what we were looking
Socks.
for.
Yep.
All right, I'll give you one more.
I'm remembering that now.
Yeah. Well, of course, now you remember it after.
But
that.
if memory serves, you're a stirrups guy, right?
Me?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, okay. So I just totally lied.
Well, I mean, at school we always had a match. At school we always had a match, so we always wore. If we had to wear stirrups, we had to wear stirrups.
Okay,
All
I
right,
got
there
you.
you go.
So it's a program-wide thing. Okay, Sam, fire away.
All right,
I'm
so
just
we'll
I'm
give
just
you the
spouting
second
inaccuracies now about Dansby.
Yeah. We'll give this second one. All right, so when Lieutenant Dan and Forrest go into the shrimping business together, and Lieutenant Dan invests all of Forrest's profits from the Bubblegum Shrimp Company in what Forrest calls some kind of fruit company. I'll give you a little hint. What is that, quote, fruit company?
It's oh my gosh, it's there's one that comes to mind, but I don't know if it's right. Hold on, let me take
You may be talking on something related to it right now.
Oh, yeah, for sure, Apple.
Yeah,
there it is. 1 for 2. We call
We
that
need
a winner.
we need like a
Baseball.
ding sound effect, like we're on talk.
Hey, one for two is a good start for the game tonight.
That isn't bad.
See, there you go.
For being 5 months old when the movie came out, that would the equivalent of that for me, being the old man on this podcast, would be like Back to the Future. So I'm impressed with that.
Okay,
Yeah,
I can deal with
there
that.
you go.
I can handle that.
Dansby, nice work, man. I have one question that we got to wrap on, just because I will selfishly do this. But one of your early games with Hillsborough, you guys rocked the Portland Mavericks throwback uniforms, and
Oh yeah.
Just tell me, because you did go stirrups with that, because you guys went team wide, went the full on old school Portland Mavericks. If people who are unaware, if you haven't seen the documentary, heard about the Mavericks, there's a phenomenal documentary on Netflix called The Battered Bastards of Baseball. This was an independent minor league team that played against affiliated teams. It's a fascinating story. Just tell me, I mean, those were sweet threads to get to rock early on in your pro career.
Yeah, they were awesome, and it was cool because a lot of the Portland Mavericks, came out that night and watched the game and everything. It's funny, their catcher, his last name's Swanson, and he was a left-hand catcher, and he told me about 5 times. He's like,
That's right, a lefty.
we have the same last name. He's like, we have the same last name. I was like, yeah, it's pretty funny that I'm wearing the same jerseys that y'all used to wear, same last name, and it was so funny because these uniforms were enormous on me. Like, I feel like I should have been like cleaning chimneys wearing these uniforms. But what was also fun, I don't know if you guys saw a picture, but a lot of us shaved like facial hair to match
Right.
the 70s.
There was some amazing 70s facial hair.
The chops and the mustache and the goatee and everything. It was funny.
There's no point in going full 70s throwback if you're not going to compliment it with the facial hair.
That's what I said. I said, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this all out. I'm going for it.
That is awesome. Dansby Swanson, the top overall pick in the 2015 Major League Baseball first-year player draft. Vanderbilt product and the top prospect now in the Arizona Diamondbacks organization. Dansby, we cannot thank you enough, man, for being so gracious with your time with us today and getting ready for a playoff game. Best of luck the rest of the way this season, and we'll be talking to you next year in full season ball. Thanks again, man.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
The final road trip of the regular season is in, and Benjamin Hill in his first year with a full-on Ben's Biz Road Trips logo and finishing off leagues that, only had a couple ballparks left. Now safe and sound back in the confines of the minor league baseball world that does not involve driving across the country. Welcome back to the show, Ben. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing all right. I'm in recuperation mode. Finally finished my last trip of the season. Hit 34 ballparks in total. Ended it all last week in New England, and I've got plenty more to write about. A bunch of New England features coming to MILB.com and the blog. Over on the blog, I'm still finishing up my southern trip from late July, early August. I just end up writing so much that I kind of fear right now that I'll be writing about my season trips the entire off season all the way until hitting the road again.
It'll
It's
go
not
right
going to be that extreme.
through the winter meetings and spring training, then all of a sudden you'll be back out on the road again.
Yeah, it is a weird thing. When I started this job and, was kind of working out my position and what it was I was doing and going through all that. A lot of it was kind of existential. Like, what am I doing? What is this job? How am I going to make it work? What is this niche I have, et cetera, et cetera. In those early days, the off season could sometimes get pretty long and lonely and just not really knowing what to do, just having very little to do. Not because I didn't want to do much, but I just wasn't so immersed in the world of minor league baseball. But now, got plenty to write about from the road trips at the end of the season. There's the promo seminar at the end of September and October. This year's is in Columbus. Might maybe go on a vacation in November, and then the winter meetings is in early December, and then you have a little holiday break, and then all of a sudden you're looking through toward 2016. It slows down a little in the off season, but the longer we all do this, I'm sure it's the same for you guys. The more there's just enough to do all year round, and the off season kind of takes care of itself.
Sam and I kind of talked about that a little bit last week, that baseball doesn't stop. I mean, as soon as the regular season's over, you got a handful of weeks that lead into the AAA championship game. Then it's just a couple weeks after that, the Arizona Fall League starts. Then all the off-season leagues start. There are various international tournaments, all kinds of, nothing ever stops. And we're going to get a chance to read about not only the conclusion of the Southern trip, but the New England trip got wrapped up last week when we talked to you. You were outside of McCoy Stadium getting ready to catch a Pawtucket Red Sox game. You were at that game that night. The next day you were in New Hampshire, and then the final day of that trip was a couple days later. You were in Portland, Maine, and got to finish off a couple of leagues that you only had one ballpark left. Give us a synopsis on the end to the New England trip.
Yeah, well, the New England trip started in Norwich, Connecticut, home of the Connecticut Tigers, and that was my last New York Penn League visit. Made a stop, the last New Britain Rockcats home game ever, which we talked about last week. Lowell Spinners, my old pals there. And then the three you mentioned, Pawtucket, New Hampshire Fisher Cats, and Manchester and Portland. So it was a great way to end the season. New England in the late summer, very scenic. The whole trip had a nice, still warm, but feeling the fall kind of come in, sort of bittersweet, wistful feeling. Good times all around. So last time I talked to you guys, I was in the McCoy Stadium parking lot prior to that game. It was a Tuesday night that I was in McCoy. 1 week ago from when we were talking now. So not a big crowd. School just started, but what a stadium. I had never been there before. I've obviously read a lot, about its most mystique and romanticism, and being a stadium that was built, 70-some, almost 80 years ago. It's been renovated a lot, but there's no stadium in minor league baseball quite like McCoy in terms of the layout. It is very big, multi-layered. The press box kind of coming out from the upper row of seating, where it kind of hovers above a lot of the seats, kind of like a spaceship flying overhead a lot of the seats. And just a really unique minor league baseball environment. It did give me a better perspective on why fans are so upset about the proposed move to Providence, because even though that is only 10 miles or what have you, it's a world away in terms of what the atmosphere would be, and an atmosphere that can never be regained once it's lost. I think a lot of people are making the argument it's not going to be viable long term to keep supporting AAA baseball in that facility, in that kind of environment. But it's going to be quite a fight until we see what happens next there, and if that move does go through. So I'll certainly be writing about that aspect of McCoy, and this week and next week as well, because as you guys know, that's a story that's on a lot of people's minds, and a long way to go before that one reaches a conclusion.
Yeah, and kind of jumping forward a little bit in your trip, we talked a little bit before, recording this, and you said one stadium that really popped out to you was Portland's Hadlock Field. I know my grandma, native of Maine and Bangor, Maine, would be very happy to hear you say that, but what made it kind of stand out to you, put it kind of in the upper echelon of minor league stadiums?
Yeah, really enjoyed ending my season in Hadlock. It's a stadium that was built in 1994, which is a awkward time for stadiums. If you're built in 1994, you're far from classic. You're too new to be classic. But a lot of those stadiums were built before really the revolution, fully kicked in terms of the 360-degree concourses and the larger emphasis on not really having to be in your seat and having it be a group gathering and kids running around on the berm and a huge video board, et cetera, et cetera. But they really make it work in that kind of, I don't even want to call it an awkward environment, but within that mid-90s aesthetic, they really make it work. Some great renovations. They have the monster seats in right field modeled after the seating in Fenway. They have an actual replica of the Green Monster, in left, so some very specific nods to their New England location and the Boston Red Sox affiliation. And just, as most of New England, as it is the case with most of New England, a more engaged fan base. It's a region that's really good for baseball fans, and that certainly trickles down to the minor league levels as well. And you're just talking to the people there. You play in Portland in April and well into May. You're dealing with snow. You're dealing with basically freezing game time temperatures. And talking to people, talking to the front office, talking to the ushers, saying, we don't do as bad as you might think at this ballpark with that kind of weather, because we do have a core of people who just come out regardless. And you could really sense that it was a team that's deep rooted in the community, that has a lot of true fans as a base, and has a great New England, Boston affiliated ambiance. And definitely that's the last Eastern League ballpark I'd yet to visit, and definitely a highlight, and definitely one I would tell people if they're making their own trips to try to get up there. It took me this long for me to make it there because it is a little awkward in the general road trip itinerary sense, because it's the only team in Maine. You just have to keep going north. It's kind of tough to tie it into a larger itinerary unless you're doing exactly what I did and really want to do New England only. But a great way to end a New England road trip for me and for anyone.
Yeah, and kind of this is time, I guess, to remind people Maine's also called vacation land. So if you ever next summer, maybe obviously we're at the end of the season, but want to spend a week up there, hit Old Orchard Beach, go to a Sea Dogs game. There's tons to do up there. You can make a trip out of it. Kind of moving to something else, you kind of wrote this week about the New England trip. One of my favorite things Ben always does is you kind of find the the certain people in the community that just stand out and are kind of local celebrities, and you kind of found them in Connecticut and Norwich with the Stott family and Gene Stott at Stott's at Bat. How does that restaurant kind of fit into what the Connecticut Tigers are to the community down there?
Yeah, this is one of my favorite stories I wrote this year, and definitely a little unique for me. I owe it to the team in my pre-visit correspondence. They were the ones who were, kind of throwing some ideas at me or things that might be interesting, and they said, hey, there's this restaurant literally right down the street from the stadium called Stott's at Bat. Gene Stott, who runs it, is basically like a second mother to a lot of the kids on the team. Coaches love her. We in the front office love her. She's just, she caters the press box meals, and she's just a big part of this team ecosystem and this team community. So I stopped into the restaurant before I went to the stadium, and it was a good time to do so. It's more a breakfast and lunch spot, and this was in the late afternoon, and it was going to close soon. And Gene was just, as they said, a really sweet, open woman who just talked about what running this business means to her, what it means to meet the boys every year, because they really are kids at this level, 20, 21, 22 years old, what it's like to get to know these boys every year, how you can identify when a scout comes in. When I was there, the hitting coach, Scott Dwyer, came in, picked up a pregame grilled cheese and fries, et cetera, et cetera. You just saw how immersed she was in this, within the Connecticut Tigers organization, not being an official presence, but someone who really takes care of the team in any way she can, who has a great business relationship with the team. And if you think of the Connecticut Tigers and you really are part of that organization, you think of this restaurant, you think of Gene Stott, you think of Stott's at Bat. And I really like those kind of stories of finding the aspects of a team that you might not think about or you might not know about if you just show up to the ballpark, but really do mean a lot in terms of what they mean to the team.
And it just kind of going around, one thing about New England is that it is so Red Sox kind of affiliated, and you hit a lot of different Red Sox affiliates, obviously, between Lowell, Portland, and Pawtucket. But with teams like Connecticut and New Hampshire, how do they kind of deal with being affiliates of other clubs and, between the Tigers, Blue Jays? Is it just embracing baseball, or do they try to work other ways of just kind of New England feel into them?
It's tough. Any team in New England would like to be a Red Sox affiliate,
right,
but there's only so many affiliations to go around. I think that New Hampshire Fisher Cats struggle with that the most. I mean, they're a team that's even done, Boston Red Sox type bobbleheads at times through the years, and done things that really were, geared toward the Boston fans in the region, even though they're not a Boston affiliate. I didn't feel that so much in Norwich, maybe because it's not as far north and it didn't quite have the full-on Red Sox nation feel that you definitely get, when you move up north a little bit. But it's tough because Portland Sea Dogs, AA Red Sox affiliate, that's huge to them. New Hampshire would love to have that affiliation. Not sure if that would ever happen. So you just got to adjust, and you just got to be who you are. Hope people just follow the players and enjoy the players for who they are. But it's tough. New Hampshire Fisher Cats are a Blue Jays affiliate, divisional rival of the Red Sox. So if you're a Red Sox fan first and foremost, it's maybe a little awkward for the fans of the Fisher Cats to develop a Fisher Cats fandom while knowing these guys, the best of them, are going to directly compete with your favorite team down the line. But, deal with that, cross that bridge when it comes to it, and just enjoy minor league baseball for what it is. I think that's why they're still successful, because at the end of the day, it's still minor league baseball. It's still a cheap, fun place to see a game. But I could not escape Boston affiliates on this trip. Not only did I visit 3 Boston Red Sox affiliates, but the 3 stadiums I visited that weren't Boston affiliated were playing the Red Sox affiliates. I saw the Sea Dogs not just in Portland, but also in New Britain and in New Hampshire. And when I was in Lowell, Lowell are a Red Sox affiliate. When I was in Norwich, they were playing Lowell, the Spinners, there. So I saw the Spinners twice, the Sea Dogs 3 times. Every single game I went to did have a Red Sox team playing. So, hey, best of both worlds. You just cannot escape it.
Ben, now that we're kind of getting down to it, this has been a long season for you with the road trips and all the ballparks. You said the amount of ballparks you've been to this year, it's more than a lot of people will get to in a lifetime. But give us just some of your quick reactions on this season. I know that there will be a ton of it coming to the blog. A lot of it's already on the website, and it's coming to the website. But, all the stadiums that you've seen, the new places that you've been to, the leagues that you've finished off, the things that you've eaten, the things that the designated eaters have eaten. What are some of the things that, when you look back on 2015, will stand out to you about this season on the road?
Well, you're absolutely right. There's a lot to unpack. So when I think about it now, it is kind of hard to pull out those isolated individual memories from this huge bulk of 5 trips, 30-some ballparks. My goal going into every season is simply to do a little bit better than I did the year before. And I'm my own worst critic and my own worst enemy in a lot of ways. But I do think I've continued to be able to do that, and I think this is my best season yet on the road in terms of the number of trips I went on, the number of ballparks I visited, in terms of the quality of the feature stories, all the people I met, having the designated eater. The podcast for the first time. Having this as part of the MILB.com operation, I think is big. Getting my own logo commissioned and created, with the help of my friend Sean Kane, great artist there.
Which, by the way, I stopped by the office last week and I noticed that you have a specially made mouse pad with the logo on it.
I do. That was just sent to me, just a one-off thing. That was sent to me. One T-shirt was sent to me. A mug was sent to me. I think people are looking at it and thinking, like, hey, if you're ever going to go any sort of mass production level, like, let us know. I'm kind of gotten a few samples sent to me. That is definitely an off-season goal. I'm very aware that, people are not going to be breaking down the doors for Ben's Biz merchandise, but doing this as long as I have, there is a subculture of fellow weirdos who are really into it, and I'd love to get, some T-shirts out there, some mugs, or some mouse pads, and kind of, keep spreading the word, exploring America through minor league baseball. See, at the end of the season, I can't even say my own tagline at this point, but that is what the Ben's Biz logo is. Of course, it's about me a little bit, or maybe a lot, but I really wanted to convey the person who identifies with that logo. Hopefully they like my writing, but they also identify with the idea of exploring America through minor league baseball. You guys on the house, if I ever have a Ben's Biz T-shirt, I'll give it to you for free, and I'm sure you'll wear it each and every day with pride.
All right. Well, you're on the record now saying it's for free, so everybody has heard it. That's a binding contract.
Yeah. Hey, I know that'll be a career highlight for you. I look forward to seeing that.
Keep checking the blog at bensbiz.mlblogs.com and keep checking MILB.com as well. We'll have a lot more feature stuff, a lot more content from Ben's trips this season. And just as things don't really stop on the field, like we've been talking about with off-season leagues and all that kind of stuff, things off the field don't stop in minor league baseball either, because now that we're out of the regular season, we might not be checking in on promos and all the wacky stuff that happens in-game, but we're getting close to rebranding season. I know the Charleston River Dogs just unveiled a refreshed logo. Obviously, we've seen the Savannah Sand Gnats will be moving to Columbia, South Carolina next year. They've announced their rebrand as the Columbia Fireflies. But, that always seems to come fast and furious over the offseason as well. And, Ben, you've probably even got an in on some of the stuff that we haven't heard about that'll be happening this offseason.
I know of a few. I do think my early inclination is it's going to be a fairly slow rebranding season. because two of the big ones, as you guys know, the Columbia Fireflies and Hartford York Goats are already out there.
Right.
So we don't have these new identities for whole new teams waiting to be revealed. They've already been revealed. There will certainly be some in-market rebrandings to look forward to. But I don't think it's going to be one of those years where you just look up on a new day and you're like, wait, what? There's another one. Because sometimes there have been years, even this last offseason, where you can barely keep track of it. You're just like, wait, what? This team's doing it today, and on Monday this team's doing it, and the following Thursday this team's doing it. I don't think it's going to be that insane, but we got some stuff to look forward to there. Of course, all sorts of ongoing business news and stadium building developments and team relocation rumors and all that kind of stuff. A good chance to get caught up on our reading and read some minor league themed books, maybe write some reviews on those, et cetera, et cetera. We keep it going. There's always something to write about, as you guys know. Baseball never ends. It has taken over our lives, basically.
All season long, Benjamin Hill has been kind enough to join us and drop his knowledge on the world of minor league baseball here on the show before the show, episode number 24, Ben. And we'll be doing it again over the offseason. We'll be checking in with you and figuring out what's going on as we head toward the 2016 campaign. Thanks as always, man.
Sounds good. I look forward to it.
Had a whole lot of fun on the 24th edition of Minor League Baseball's The Show Before the Show podcast. As always, you can head on to iTunes and give us 5 stars and also leave comments if you like and find us there. You can rate, review, and subscribe to The Show Before the Show on iTunes. You can also find us at MILB.com. Sam is on Twitter. He's at Sam Dykstra, MILB. I am at Tyler Mon. Benjamin Hill is at Ben's Biz, and Dansby Swanson is at Lieutenant Dan's 7. You can follow Minor League Baseball as well at MILB. And wrapping it up on the 24th edition of the show, but just because the regular season's over and we may not have weekly promos and those sorts of things to talk about does not mean that your season is done on MILB TV. We've got playoff games coming up all week long, all weekend long into next week. The postseason continues throughout minor league baseball. This was very cool. Ben tweeted out earlier today, we're recording our little our outro here on Wednesday, quote, Bowie Bay Sox hosting a playoff watch party tonight with an MILB.TV feed streamed live at a local pizzeria. That's awesome.
Yeah, I remember, going to college and doing that kind of stuff, and I know a lot of pro teams, major teams, do watch parties when their teams go on the road for playoffs. So it's nice to see that kind of tradition get carried over. Hopefully, that the pizza's good to match the baseball over there in Bowie, but that would be a kind of a cool minor league tradition that starts.
And if your team is not putting a watch party on, you can put a watch party on. Tell your team that you're going to throw one at your house or another local pizzeria.
Or just tell your friends.
Or just tell your friends. Whatever. If you're in Fresno, it's probably not going to be a pizzeria. It'll probably be around tacos. But it's a good thing. So have some fun watching the postseason on MILB.TV. And, we got playoff games, and the AAA championship game, of course, is coming up later on in the month. And we'll be breaking the first rounds of postseason action down and getting you set for the remainder of the playoffs on next week's episode number 25 of the show before the show. So our biggest thanks to Dansby Swanson, the top prospect in the Diamondback system, and MLB.com's number 10 overall prospect. And, of course, our thanks, as always, to Benjamin Hill as well. And until next week, cheer for your team if they have made the postseason, and we will break down if they made you happy or didn't. That's all coming up next week. We'll talk to you then.